Welcome to the TNT Review.
We don't like it, we'll blow the hell out of it.
That's right, if we're not scraping it off the walls, it must have been good.
Or really, really bad.
I'm Zane Tempest.
And I'm Drake Terrain.
And this time we're reviewing Fallout New Vegas Ultimate Edition.
Fallout New Vegas, much like its predecessor Fallout 3, is one of the few well-done first-person shooter RPGs.
Yeah, the role-play shooter genre.
It's pretty unique, it's not got a lot of other competition, really.
The only similar games are ones by the same companies, let's be honest.
Bethesda does kind of own the market on the RPG genre.
Well, and they don't really have much competition because they do it well.
That is true.
But let's focus on the game now. We're going to start off with some of the gameplay, how it handles.
Well, the shooting feature I found runs very, very simply, although occasionally the movement features can be a bit unusual.
Yeah, with the lack of advanced features like your crosshair changing size, you've only got a basic dot to work with if you've got it turned on the options. Your iron sights and VATS, Vault-Tec assisted aiming system, was that?
Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, that's the only way to nearly guarantee a shot, unless you've got a really accurate weapon and, like me, sit up on a hill with a scope.
Or have a very, very inaccurate weapon but fire enough bullets and only be 3 foot from your target. Both work well in their own ways.
Certainly seems to do the job. The only problem with this being that it does seem a little bit experimental in places.
Well, after this game came on after Fallout 3, you tend to find a lot of the features from Fallout 3 in there, but with a lot of tester features I found.
Yeah.
I mean, half of the gameplay seemed to be things that people probably just put in the forums as a, can we have this next?
I'll be honest, there are features in this game that I've never used and I've tried to get rid of, and once I got the PC version I've used a mod to get rid of.
But throughout the game, even in the original,
yes,
there were problems, as you may have mentioned.
There's always bugs.
Well, yes. The one I've noticed most often with the 360 version is that even though it's a console game,
yes,
you suffer from lag.
Even though they've adjusted various features, like the distance it takes for actors and NPCs to show up at range, they've reduced that quite significantly, including objects and things. You look off into the far distance, everything's a little bit fuzzy and lacking in detail.
Because it hasn't been loaded properly by your
Exactly.
Xbox.
It's low level of detail to save on load time.
But that tends to get very dicky in the Xbox version.
Yeah,
because
it was known as one of the most fastest to crash games for the modern games.
Exactly. The other features were that you could have really high amounts of one of the skills, perception,
Yep.
one of your special skills,
Yeah.
that you could see enemies on your little radar at the bottom of the screen from miles and miles away. But they wouldn't be rezzed, therefore you couldn't hit them until you were much, much closer.
Yeah, my joy of having to use a scoped weapon and zoom in exactly where I knew they were, just so that they would load so I can shoot them.
Exactly, if you weren't having your crosshair directly on them, they wouldn't load.
No.
But apart from that, you had pretty average loading times.
Yeah, the loading times were pretty fair, all things considered.
There weren't a lot of bugs in it to start with. I didn't find that many. I mean, you got the basic bugs fall through the ground every now and then.
Well, there were loads of those. Not to mention, dynamics don't work. I'm going to sell the ammo that regenerates out of this gun.
Oh, that was my favourite. That wasn't a bug, that was genius.
I'm going to use these chips at this casino and trade them all in for money, and then I'm going to trade all the exact same chips in again for money, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again.
Okay, so there were a few little things that generally no one spoke about because they wanted to keep, but Bethesda found and got rid of anyway.
And not to mention the occasional new DLCs which damaged the old ones.
Yeah, getting new stuff and the old stuff doesn't work properly. Not exactly the best from Bethesda.
Not their fault, admittedly. You start mucking around with computers and something's going to go wrong. But we were hoping this game would feel a bit more finished.
Yes, it never stopped feeling like a tester game.
The mods on weapons. Sometimes you get a weapon and it's got like 2 status effects. It's silent and it does extra limb damage. Woo, you put a mod on it. That mod is now off the bottom of the screen.
Yes, because where the exit of your menu is, it's halfway through it.
And it just kept going. You got like 5 mods on a weapon, you can't see the last 2.
There were a lot of things where I don't think Bethesda took the time to really fix or even care about too much.
No. Admittedly, it did feel like a tester, but in the DLCs there was more fan service. They took away from these features no one seemed to be using. The various things in the game that allowed you to extend the Fallout 3 experience, adding mods to your weapons, crafting new kinds of weapons. Large gun and small gun systems were combined just to one gun system and replaced with all sorts of other additional features like the survival skill, making your own food.
Or many other things that you could make within it.
Indeed.
Anti-venoms and way to clear your own water.
Poisons.
But generally, throughout the game, it was a thoroughly enjoyable game.
Oh, definitely. I loved it.
I never left the feeling that this is Fallout 3.5.
Yeah, it felt like it was Fallout 3 again.
Yes.
With lots of features that we didn't put in the original, or we thought up after we let it loose, or some guy on a forum suggested it and we liked it.
Yes, there was a lot of features like that that never seemed to be finished properly.
The Wild Wasteland perk. What was the point?
There's about 6 instances where you actually used it.
Okay, there's a new message on that wall. Great. Why? There's a vehicle, half in a wall. What's the point in that? Why wasn't that in the regular game?
I mean, there were times when it was cool. I mean, you got the holy hand grenade in
Yes,
the
all you
basement.
gotta do is count to 5.
3.
Yeah, 3.
Then there was the fact that you got attacked by grandmothers while you were in Freeside.
Yeah, that was strange.
Yeah, it's fun though.
Giant albino rad scorpions, which you could only find in certain places. And as I mentioned, a vehicle stuck in a wall, with a big goo pile in front of it. How's my driving? Called 800 Squish.
Now, the next feature we want to talk about is one that was generally quite different when it was first arrived.
The official first of its kind. If you've ever wondered in games, why have you never seen a bathroom on the spaceship? How come no one ever seems to be eating? Well, Fallout New Vegas kind of fixes that taboo.
The new feature is called Hardcore Mode.
Aptly named.
Yes, it really does live up to that.
You've got to eat, you've got to drink, you've got to sleep, or you will die.
And along the way to death, you will find a lot of random bad perks to it.
Negative effects, dehydration,
Starvation. Sleep deprivation.
Yes, and in case you're wondering, yes, you can die from sleep deprivation. And you can in the game too.
Yes, and as it goes along, it only apparently takes 11 days. Although I'm pretty sure you've been up for longer than that before.
Only on a caffeine binge. Let's not talk about it. Things get scary at that range.
But it added a new level to the game.
Yes, it allowed people who thought, oh, this game is too easy. It allowed them to eat their words, sit back, and have to brew everything at a campfire every few days.
But at the same time, I always wondered about the fact they're adding realism while you're running around with an energy weapon blowing up handymen.
Nothing wrong with blowing up handyman with an energy weapon. Haven't you ever done it on a weekend?
Not that I know of.
Oh, well, I should probably show you the photo sometime. Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, I might be attacking a giant mutated rad scorpion with a fire axe, but there's no reason to presume it's not realistic.
The whole game is based around a fun sense of the future.
Yes.
I mean, the underlying darkness to the fact that the world ended in an apocalyptic wasteland is kind of offset by the fact you are paying for everything in bottle caps.
And then you top off all that nice, wonderful, happy, lancy, jokey stuff with things like finding 2 skeletons. One on top of the other, one holding a combat knife and the other one holding a fistful of old world money.
Yes, Bethesda seemed to jump from one extreme to the other at relatively quick terms.
Oh, it's nice to know they've at least got a decent balance, because, yes, sure, you might have just walked into a room and found a skeleton with a switchblade through its skull. On the other side, you just got a switchblade.
Yes, both, to be honest, aren't exactly the type of thing you'd expect to see in real life.
Now, speaking of realism, I was talking to a gun nut a while back, and he actually sat there for half an hour straight, telling me what bullets would fit and wouldn't fit in a gun. This didn't exactly enrich my life, but it did make this game a little bit more interesting, solely because
throughout the game you will find that you'll get many different types of ammo for different guns, some more than others.
If you've got, say, the anti-material rifle, one of my personal favourite sniper rifles, long range is best, you'll find that you not only have the classic 50mg rounds, you've also got incendiary rounds, you've got explosive rounds, match-loaded rounds. You've got these countless types of ammunitions for all these different weapons, and all have different features. You've picked up a crate of bulk ammunition. It'll gunk your gun up, but it's cheap as chips.
On the other end of the scale, there is a problem with it, because throughout the game you will be picking up tons and tons of ammo that you won't actually ever use.
I've never shot anyone with a beanbag gun. I don't care what you say, it might do their fatigue damage a world of good, but I would rather blow their head off.
As a man that runs around generally with a shotgun at close hand range, short range rules, you will find that one type of ammo, which is the beanbag gun, is completely useless, while at the same time, occasionally having a full slug round can be useful. But I would prefer it if I could just pull my gun out and blow them away without wondering, oh my god, I'm running out of this, but I've got too much of that.
Okay, I've got my 9mm pistol, I've got the plus P plinking rounds, that's great, I'm fine. Hang on a second, I need to use my armor piercing rounds for this one. Oh no, I'm out of anti-personnel bullets! Can't I just shoot them?
It gets very, very complicated very quickly, and unless you can keep your eye on the ball at all times, it is going to start to confuse you. Which pulls me on to something else that was rather annoying in the game. one of the features is crafting.
Ah, yes. Have you ever sat awake at night and wondered, is it possible for me to take all of these interesting, useful ingredients that I made a gun out of in the previous game and make them into a gun in this one?
In the previous version, in Fallout 3, the father of the game to be honest, there was the fact that you could build very special, very simple weapons.
Railway rifle.
Or a Deathclaw Gauntlet. These were very good guns, or weapons in the case of the Gauntlet, very unique and usually very, very funny.
I mean, I spent my entire afternoon running around with a dart gun, which, as it sounds, it fired darts, throwing darts, but it poisoned your enemies, so they walked like they had a stick up their arse.
And I once listened to a 5-minute "Oh God, I'm the best" rant from you after you managed to kill a super mutant with a spork fired from the rocket launcher, capable of firing absolutely anything from your junk file.
You know, I just killed the biggest, nastiest thing in the game with a spork. I demand ranting privileges over that. That is epic.
Demand them or not, you got them anyway. But throughout this game, you can craft just about everything.
Except those original weapons.
Except anything of use.
Ah, yes. Ever wanted to make your own healing items? Tired of just going around picking them up and buying them?
From absolutely everywhere.
From absolutely everyone?
Generally, you'd find the things that you can build or make all over the place.
I found so many healing powders, I've only ever had to craft it once, for a mission at the beginning of the game.
And then you never use it again. But throughout this game, there are 3 different types of crafting. You have survival crafting, which...
So you can craft health items, you can craft chems, you can craft food, mostly.
The only useful feature I ever found is you can take a cooking pot, some tubing, a large amount of dirty water and purify it.
Make yourself clean water.
It was good, it was useful. A lot of the other stuff you'll get isn't.
You can make gecko-backed hardened armour, which is very much like the original armour, except now it's got a gecko texture on the back.
Or you can wait a couple of hours and get combat armour, which I find better in every way.
Yeah.
But then on to the next piece of crafting, you've got proper crafting.
Yeah.
You can take scrap metal and turn it into bullets, really.
Especially nails. All you need is scrap metal and you can make nails for one of your guns.
But this came across quite useful in places.
If you ever wondered why you were picking up all these strange, peculiar medical items, you know, what the hell is an ophthalmoscope anyway? You can put them all together in a bag and make yourself your own homemade doctor's bag.
Which in Fallout New Vegas instantly heals all of your crippled limbs.
Very, very useful. Also, in hardcore mode, you can't just use a stim pack on them, you've got to use a doctor's bag.
Or some of the other healing items you'll gain throughout the game.
Or a real doctor, but oof, that's just old school.
I know, and usually cheaper, but no one ever does it anyway. Then on to the final type of crafting, which is the most annoying.
Admittedly, this type of crafting works really, really well on paper until you start doing it. If you're using energy weapons, for example,
then after you've fired your rounds, they become discharged. They are just useless amounts of ammo. You can't do anything with it, and it just goes into your bag. Until you go to a reloading bench where you can take this depleted ammo and recharge some of it, more of it if you get a certain perk, but you can then turn it back into normal ammo.
And then you've got projectile weapons. Bullets. Old-fashioned, solid, boring old bullets.
Which when you break them down, you end up with lead, primer, casings that are unique to the gun.
Yeah, it's safe to say it gets very fiddly at this point. If you wanted to make, say, 50 mg rounds, you can make match-loaded ones, which are more accurate, but take more units. Or you can make regular 50 mg rounds, which you have to have the right perk for. Or if you get another perk later, you can use other materials for them. Or you can do this, or you can do that, or you can do this, or you can do that. Or you can just pick the bloody ammo up off a dead person and use it.
Or buy it from any shop for generally absolutely nothing.
Let's be honest, it is not worth the time it takes to learn, it's not worth the time it takes to keep it. And I don't really want to have almost 50 items, was it we checked?
Yes.
50 items in my junk folder of things I need just for crafting.
Which if you're never going to use, are never going to be done.
No. A hell of a lot of zero weight items just gunking up the folder.
Outside of energy weapons, it will never be useful.
At least it makes use in energy weapons, and if you decided you wanted to take rockets apart and make bullets out of them.
Yes, possibly, but at no point did I ever want to.
No, me either.
Now, after using all these different types of ammo and everything else that you've got to come towards your gun, there is one feature that is very, very useful.
Something that made my life all that much easier.
Several times in Fallout 3 I found a gun, and then I'd find the exact same gun with a silenced version. And I could never understand why I couldn't just take the silencer off and stick it on a gun. But then in Fallout New Vegas, you have the new weapon mods features.
You got a hunting rifle. You'll like hunting rifles, long range rules. And with a hunting rifle it's accurate, you can shoot people with it, and you just wish there was a scope on the top and maybe a bigger clip, and guess what? Now you can have it. All you got to do is find a hunting rifle scope, press a button, click, and it's on. There you go, you just got yourself a homemade sniper rifle.
Or you can take a varmint rifle, which is generally a middle range weapon,
If that.
and then you can give it a scope, make it silenced, give it a bigger clip.
Safe to say, that little putt-putt suddenly becomes remarkably useful.
And throughout the game you'll find several that are random but really fun.
You've got some that make a weapon easier to use. You get mods that increase fire speed, things that decrease weight. You've got ones that add scopes, silencers, and various other little useful effects.
And some that never made sense. You can buy the Fat Man Little Boy kit, and you add a mod to the weapon and make it lighter. Useful if you want to lug it around all the time, but it didn't really make any sense of why it worked.
Well, at least they explained it with the anti-material rifle. Carbon fibre parts. There you go. Simple, easy to remember.
Now we've been talking about all these random weapons and we haven't actually gone into any details with them, so that's what we'll talk about next. Throughout Fallout New Vegas we've run into a lot of different weapons.
It's a very diverse cross-section if you ever want to get deeply involved.
You've got everything from rifles like the varmint rifle, the hunting rifle,
The anti-material rifle.
the service rifle.
It's safe to say you got a whole lot of rifles. Then you go down to things like the pistols, the 9mm pistol, the 10mm pistol. Then you've got things like the, 5.69 pistol.
Yes, and generally there were a lot of them.
Yeah.
You found lots and lots of different weapons. This was good and bad at the same time.
Especially because, to repair one, you needed one of the exact same type.
Until you got a perk later, but we'll mention that in a bit.
Yes.
Now, throughout this game you'll find some weapons that are just the exact same as all the others, but named and better.
Okay, I've got a laser pistol. Okay, I've just picked up a new laser pistol. And this laser pistol isn't called laser pistol, this laser pistol's called Pew Pew. What the bloody hell does Pew Pew do?
Pew Pew does more damage than the average laser pistol, has a clip of 10 but fires 5 shots per time. So effectively you've got a double shot gun.
Yeah. As opposed to the original laser pistol, which has, 30?
So some of them are better than others.
Some have a smaller clip but do more damage, others do more damage without a negative, others are just lighter or fancier or shoot faster or some other random fancy thing.
And then there are some weapons in the game that are completely unique.
This machine. Any one of you old-fashioned World War nuts will look at this machine and you'll say, "Oi, what's an M1 Garand doing in there? And how come you can reload it?"
Let's not go into detail about the game where you are firing a gun called this machine and then go into realism about it.
M1 Garand.
Moving on. Now, if you've got so many people shooting at you, you always need something to take the shots.
A companion!
No, I was going to go on to armour, we'll discuss those later, but yes, I agree. Now, just like there are so many weapons in this game, there are a shed load of armours.
Let's not forget that every faction, we'll talk about them later, but every different group of people has their own specific sets of armour. And of course, each specific set of armour has ones that are better than or worse than others, or give you different things.
You can go from the Legion, which is a piss take of Caesar, and you've got the...
Valexius? You've got the Assassin's armour, the Scout's armour, the Legionnaire's armour, you've got the Veteran armour, various different ones.
And all throughout the other factions are about the same. You've got low level to high level armour.
Yeah.
There isn't a lot of difference. I mean, the only armour in the game really that makes any sort of difference is the power armour. It's very, very slow, but you need specialised training to use it, but it gets you the best damage resistance in the game.
Yeah, but that's because you're too close to avoid the damage. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm also close enough to be able to hit the enemies.
Nitpick.
And since we're on them, we might as well talk about them. There are several different factions throughout the game.
As we've already discussed, you've got Caesar's Legion, or if you're one of the elitist nutjobs who wants to believe everything the game says, Caesar's Legion.
You've got the NCR, the New Californian Republic.
In other words, modern style military.
Then you've got lots of little ones running around.
The powder gangers. They're just a bunch of convicts who jumped up one day, killed the bosses and said, right, this is ours now.
The boomers, who live in the corner of the map firing rockets at every normal day folk that come nearby.
You've got little town-related ones, or like the town of Goodsprings, you've got the town of Prim, this town, that town, all little towns.
And then you've got the fiends, who are generally just all the guys in between that are killing each other.
Safe to say, don't worry about them being a faction. You can kill them without any guilt whatsoever. No one minds if you kill them, except maybe other ones of them. But we don't care about them because we're too busy killing them.
The one thing we didn't like about this is half of the factions hate the other half.
Okay, I'm going to go join in with this NCR group of people. They're nearby, I've just met them, and they just saved my ass from this great big rabid bullrad that was trying to eat me. Okay, I'm going to be friends with them. Why do these Legion guys hate me? What's their deal?
Or you've just woken up in this little town, walked outside of it, and you've met these powder ganger guys. They don't seem too bad, sure, they're convicts, but generally you're running around shooting everyone else, so it doesn't really make you a good Samaritan.
No, let's join in with them, let's see what happens. They want you to turn around and kill everyone in that town.
And you don't always get the choice of a peaceful solution straight down the middle.
No, let's be honest, they are modelled on humans, and let's face it, how good are we at diplomacy?
About as good as we are at, well, not killing each other.
Yeah, about that. Sometimes you can guide the line, you can not piss off a faction for a while, or you can wait till certain points in the game where a faction will just turn around and say, okay, we're going to forgive you, just join up and we'll let everything go. Usual stupid stuff.
But throughout the game you are forced to make these choices, which we don't like.
They're aiming you towards them. You have to join up with these factions. If you wear the faction's armour, everyone thinks you're a member of that faction, unless you're trying to sneak into a base, in which case you can guarantee there's some high-up guy watching the door.
But generally throughout the game you are forced, and we do mean forced, about these factions.
There's a lot of things where this game aims you towards things, guiding the gamer towards doing certain things. Invisible walls in scenery to stop you walking from A to B. You have to go from A to Q to R to X to B.
Making you go through certain places, making you interact with certain people.
People who you don't want to talk to, mostly because you've been told through the entire game they're going to kill you.
And you can talk to them and find out they might kill you, or you could join with them and then kill everyone else.
Yeah, safe to say, it makes things a little too complicated for your average socialite gamer. Alright, let's forget all these faction things and go back to you, the player. This is all we care about. The guy, or girl, holding the gun.
Now, anyone who has played the other versions of the game will know that in Fallout 3, every time you leveled, you got this nifty little thing called a perk.
Some of them you absolutely needed. Silent running. Hi, I'm a sneak specialist and I don't care how fast I'm moving because I'm always silent.
Some of them not so much.
Friend of animals. Okay, no animal thinks you're a hostile. That's great. I'm still going to shoot you because I get experience for it.
And of those animals, that includes a mole rat, which is weak as hell. The Yaoguai, which actually was pretty difficult, but generally weak as hell in the end. Yeah.
There were more. There must have been more. I'm sure there were more. Well, safe to say that wasn't really worth it. So, in Fallout New Vegas, they seem to have changed their mind a little about this. You just leveled up. Congratulations, you're level 2. Oi, where's me perks?
They changed it so you would get one perk every 2 levels, considering the old system was you'd get a perk every level, but new ones would appear every 2 levels.
It's safe to say that now, unfortunately, because you don't have the option to get a perk every level, you have to choose your perks very carefully. If you're going to go with this perk Fortune Finder because you want to get loads more bottle caps out of everything, you've got to make sure you're going to need it.
Some of the perks we've mentioned before, such as Jerry Rig, this allows you to repair certain guns and certain armour with stuff that is similar, but not identical.
For example, you're repairing your fancy goggles with a mask. You're repairing this helmet with a regular boring hat.
Repairing your combat armour with metal armour.
You're repairing your assault rifle with an SMG.
Stuff that is in the similar range, but not exactly. You can't repair a pistol with a rocket launcher or vice versa.
I've tried, it doesn't work. Now, we already mentioned that the reloading benches aren't as useful as they could be, mostly because you always need all these fanciful materials. You want to make these bullets, you've got to have the right cases, you've got to have all the right primers, you've got to have the right gunpowder, you've got to have lead. No, get a perk which called Junk Rounds. Aptly named. Why? Because now you can use scrap metal and tin cans to make ammo.
To make up with this, for the lack of other perks you're going to get, they made new ways of you getting perks.
For example, experience bonuses from various things. Killing radiated insects. You now get the... what is it? The Bug Stomper.
Yes, Bug Stomper.
Yeah, Bug Stomper. Well, you do more damage to insects because you killed so many of them. It's an unseen perk, but it does the job.
Or you get the Lord of Death perk, which you get for killing everything.
Yeah, let's be honest, everyone wants that.
And that just gives you more damage. Also, after you've completed the perks the first time, they will reset so you can do them again just for that quick XP boost.
And some of them stack. For example, some of the DLC ones you get, which allow you to do more damage against a specific enemy. Kill enough of them, 5% more damage. Kill enough more of them again, 10% more damage.
Stacking this with the 15% you've got for their type of enemy, it generally adds up to be quite well.
Eventually you can walk around with your varmint rifle and pop them off at long range, because long range rules.
But as some people have told us, the pet peeve of this is the fact that you can't get everything.
Yes, some of those people like me want to go out and sit back at their place at the end of the game and have every perk in the game they want and have all of the abilities they need, all of the special weapons they wanted. No.
There are limitations throughout the game of what you can and cannot do.
Your level cap, halved, is the number of perks you can get through leveling. You can guarantee there are more you want. What's worse is the diversity of these perks means if you don't know the game, chances are you've got to load up a game, check all the perks you want first time you level up, then start a new game and create a character that can get those perks.
Now, moving on from perks to one of the last things we'll talk about today, is one of the most impressive and annoying features of the game: followers.
Ah, yes. Have you ever wanted to have a random sniper following you around, helping you with those love taps at 500 yards?
Or maybe you just want someone who will help you find more things upon the battlefield.
Yeah, ever wanted to have a friendly neighbourhood dog you could just teach to go fetch, roll over, play dead, kill that bastard?
Or a friendly neighbourhood robot that would help you just to see everyone that you need to kill.
Oh, hey, you're a robot. Can you help me make stuff?
Generally, there were lots of little things like this.
In Fallout 3, they had the initial follower system, the first time ever, but it wasn't as well developed as it could have been. They obviously noticed how good this was, and in Fallout New Vegas, the follower system is now a definite theme to the game. You have missions to improve your followers, missions to get your followers. You can only have certain followers at a time. For example, if you're friends with the Legion, you can't have an NCR follower. He's not going to be too happy about it. But you do have useful followers, you have useless followers, depending on your gaming style, depends on which is better. For example, if you've got a run-in, face-first, guns blazing, and get your friend shot in the arse nature, you might want someone walking around with a bumper sword. It is exactly what it sounds like, it's a sword made from a car bumper.
And not actually that bad a weapon, to be honest.
Yeah, just don't be caught on the receiving end.
Now, the last thing we want to talk about today is generally everything. The game itself.
The whole overview of what you see when you play this game.
You'll run around the game on the outside and you look at it, and from first glance it's really quite cool.
You look at it and you see all these great design sceneries, these huge rolling vistas.
And then 2 hours later you'll be sat halfway across the map looking at the same thing.
I swear, I've already blown up that house. I'm sure I have. No, it's behind me.
And then you'll walk around the same old scenery while you're running around a base. And you'll think, wow, did I go down this corner? I can't tell. Why? Because they all look the same.
Unless you're the kind of person who I am and pick everything up as you go, you're not going to be able to tell where you've already been in some cases. The scenery gets repeated over time. This might help on loading screens, but unfortunately some places it does come across as a bit cheap and tacky. And I'm not even going to start on invisible walls stopping you going places.
As you play the game, you'll find a lot of things are the same. You'll see the same NPCs, which in RPGs isn't that uncommon. But running around the same house in 8 different places can really get annoying.
Shooting the same enemy in the same outfit with the same gun a few hundred times to try and get enough experience to level again, to try and get a perk you can't get because you haven't got the right stats, it can get old.
The game has many good features, many bad features, but overall I found it thoroughly enjoyable.
I think the game is definitely what you make of it. If you want to change your entire skill set overnight, you can. You can pick up a different gun, start leveling that up instead. Fight as hard as you can and go from a gun to energy weapon, or even follow the game's massive amounts of perks for the unarmed and melee skills.
Even though I've never met anyone that's ever used them.
The only melee fighter I've ever met was an NPC who I had to blow the head off. Needless to say, they didn't land a punch.
Now, as we do on the end of each show, we'll rate this game from cherry bomb to nuke.
I'd definitely give this game a cherry bomb.
So good, we don't even want to damage the case.
And let's face it, Fallout, I think it's had enough nukes, don't you?
I'm Drake Terrain,
And I'm Zane Tempest.
and this has been the
The
TNT
TNT
Review.
Review.